tiny armies standing against overwhelming forces. We all know the story of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, a tale so grand it's become the stuff of legend. But what if I told you that less than 150 years ago, a similar story unfolded, not in ancient Greece, but on a remote cloud-swept mountain in the Philippines? This story sounds like it should be fiction. It's a story where the title, 3,000 against 30,000, while a dramatic exaggeration, perfectly captures the spirit of the fight. The real numbers, though, are even more staggering. It wasn't thousands, but a mere 60 men, and they weren't facing 30,000, but a formidable force of over 300 battle-hardened American soldiers. At the head of this tiny band of defenders was a general who was little more than a boy, just 24 years old, celebrated as a romantic hero and a brilliant commander. His name was Gregorio del Pilar, and his orders weren't to win. They were to die. On December 2nd, 1899, this 24-year-old general was given an impossible order: hold a narrow mountain pass against an army that vastly outnumbered his own. With only 60 elite sharpshooters, he was the last line of defense, standing between a pursuing American army and the freedom of his nation's president. This is the story of their suicidal last stand at the Battle of Tirad Pass. A battle fought to buy a few precious hours, paid for with the lives of heroes. To understand how a 24-year-old ended up commanding a desperate last stand, we have to go back to the storm of revolution that had engulfed the Philippines. The year is 1899. The first Philippine Republic, a brand new nation born from a bloody struggle for independence against Spain, now found itself facing a new colonial power, the United States. The Spanish-American War was over, but for Filipinos, the fight for freedom was far from finished. What began with American promises of liberation quickly soured into a new conquest. The United States, under a policy it called benevolent assimilation, had no intention of recognizing Philippine independence. War was inevitable. The first phase of the Philippine-American War was a conventional one, with armies clashing on open fields. But the superior training and firepower of the American forces were devastating. The Filipino army, led by its president, Emilio Aguinaldo, was forced into a long, desperate retreat north across the main island of Luzon. By November 1899, the Republic was on the run. The organized army was shattered, and President Aguinaldo himself was the primary target of a massive American manhunt. Leading this relentless pursuit was Major Peyton C. March, a driven officer in charge of the 33rd Volunteer Infantry Regiment. His orders were simple: capture Aguinaldo and end the war. March's troops were closing in fast, and the Filipino leadership knew that if their president was caught, the dream of an independent Philippines could die with him. During a war council on November 13, 1899, a huge decision was made. President Aguinaldo, cornered and outmaneuvered, ordered his regular army to dissolve. From now on, they wouldn't fight a conventional war. They would melt into the mountains and jungles, becoming a phantom force of guerrilla fighters. This shift in strategy was their only hope, and it would prolong the war for years. But it required one thing above all else. Aguinaldo had to escape into the remote interior to organize this new resistance. This is where our young general enters the picture. Gregorio Hilario del Pilar y Sempio. Born in 1875, he was a child of the Revolution. He joined the fight against Spain at just 21, and his charisma, courage, and tactical mind saw him rise through the ranks with stunning speed. He was handsome, dashing, and so popular with his men and the public that he earned the nickname Goyong, or the Boy General.
How to check if someone's spying on you. Actually, it's pretty simple. If you notice any of these signs, it's time to check your phone. Here's what to look for. Your phone overheats or the battery drains quicker than usual. Your phone is slower than usual. You notice suspicious apps or pop-ups. If you've noticed any of these, here's what you need to do. Step 1, install the Malwarebytes app from the App Store. Step 2, run a free security scan that finds and removes any spyware, malware, or hidden viruses. Malwarebytes is award-winning and trusted by millions. It's also incredibly easy to use and one of the most effective security apps out there. Install Malwarebytes today and keep your phone safe from hackers.
People vow not to play MU anymore. Because they were cheated by other MU games, there are many fake games on the market. Tonight, I recommend you try this mobile MU game. It reproduces the style of the 2003 version. All gear is dropped by monsters. For bring up better gaming experience to veteran players, this game made some small adjustments. Start points and scales are maxed. All golden monster maps are free to enter.
MU New Dawn. Start strong with the Dark Knight.
Boy general, but he was more than just a charismatic figure. He was one of President Aguinaldo's most trusted confidants. Aguinaldo himself wrote of Del Pilar, "He was my man of confidence. I could trust him with everything. Therefore, I had him always at my side until he died." Del Pilar was a proven warrior, known for his successful raids and his bravery under fire. But his loyalty to Aguinaldo was absolute. This loyalty would lead him to his final, most glorious assignment. As Aguinaldo and his small entourage fled north, they were joined by a force of about 1,200 men, with General Del Pilar commanding the vanguard. The chase was brutal. Major March's forces were always just days, sometimes hours, behind. The escape route led them into the rugged spine of the Cordillera Mountains, a formidable landscape of steep peaks and treacherous trails. It was here, in the province of Ilocos Sur, that they found a natural fortress, a place called Tirad Pass. The pass was a perfect choke point. At nearly 4,500 feet, it was a narrow trail cut into the side of a mountain, a gap so tight that in some places only one person could pass at a time. To one side, a sheer rock face soared into the sky. On the other, a terrifyingly steep drop to the gorge below. From the summit, you could see for miles, the perfect vantage point to spot an approaching enemy. For a small group of defenders, it was the perfect place to make a stand, and a death trap for any army foolish enough to try a frontal assault. On November 23, 1899, Aguinaldo's party reached the pass. Del Pilar, recognizing its immense strategic value, volunteered to defend it. He would stay behind with a small rear guard. His mission wasn't to defeat the Americans. That was impossible. His mission was to delay them, to hold the pass just long enough for President Aguinaldo to escape into the mountains. Aguinaldo accepted. He gave Del Pilar the pick of the remaining soldiers, a small contingent of 60 men, many from his own loyal battalion. As the president and his family prepared to leave, a somber farewell took place. Aguinaldo tried to persuade the young general not to lead the defense himself, to save his own life. But Del Pilar was resolute, reportedly saying, "It is better for me to be there, President, for then they will be able to ascend the mountain only when we are dead." With that, President Aguinaldo's party continued their escape. General Gregorio Del Pilar and his 60 men turned to face the mountain, and the enemy they knew was coming. They were completely alone, a sacrificial rear guard. They began to fortify the pass, building stone barricades and digging trenches at key points along the winding trail. They were preparing for their final battle. That night, on December 1st, 1899, General Del Pilar took out his diary. In the cold mountain air, he wrote his final poignant entry, a glimpse into the heart of a young man staring death in the face. He wrote, "The general has given me the pick of all the men that can be spared and ordered me to defend the pass. I realize what a terrible task has been given me, and yet I feel that this is the most glorious moment of my life. What I do is done for my beloved country. No sacrifice can be too great." With those words, he closed the book on his life. The sun would rise on his final day. The stage was set. The morning of December 2nd, 1899, broke cold and clear over Tirad Pass. American war correspondent Richard Henry Little, who was with Major March's battalion, later called it a battle above the clouds. From their perch high on the mountain, Del Pilar and his 60 men could see the American force approaching from the lowlands. It was the 33rd Volunteer Infantry Regiment, a formidable battalion of over 300 seasoned soldiers. They were confident, well-armed, and they had one goal: punch through the pass and capture Aguinaldo. Del Pilar had used the terrain perfectly. His men were positioned in trenches and behind stone barricades built at sharp bends in the trail. This forced the Americans to advance single file, totally exposed to fire from above, unable to use their superior numbers. The Filipino sharpshooters, many of them elite soldiers, were ready. As the Americans began their climb, the pass fell silent.
Paano ba ito patigilin? Pang! Sabi tayo, paldog! Puta, scam yan. Par, nananalo eh. Kapag nanalo, scam yan. Yo, what up guys? 7 game. Ito na, alam nyo naman, kapag bagong games, bagong account, napakadaling manalo. Ito guys, oh. Super Ace Deluxe agad yung susubukan natin. Sabay-sabay nating susubukan. Ito. Ano natin yan? Bibili natin yung scatter. 400 lang ha. Testing natin kung dodoble. Tignan natin kung scam ba to o hindi. Testing natin. Sabay-sabay natin tignan. Okay? Times 10, magiging times 20 para sa mga hindi pa nakakaalam. Ganyan yung scatter dito, tapos auto spin lang natin. Okay, tingnan natin ha, kung magkano lang cash in ko rito, 1K lang ha. Pinaglaro ko lang to, testing lang natin. Wala naman masamang sumubok lang, tingnan natin kung scam. Kung magpapa-scam kayo, dito na siguro. Kapag tumama ako, scam to ha. 30. Okay, pag lumago, scam. Testing. Okay, 60 pesos. Oh, 12. May ipon-ipon na. Pang 12. Last ano na, spin natin. 10 times na. Okay, last one spin. Tingnan natin kung katulad to nung ano, yung kapag last spin na, tsaka mas maraming binibigay. Diba? Warshock par! Pang! Tingnan mo. Ayan na. Okay. Pagang, diba? Sa lahat ng gusto maglaro nito, yung link tayo sa may comment section lang. Papakita ko pa sa inyo yung lahat ng mga games dito kay 7 game ha. Ayan o. Ang ganda ng dashboard nila dahil, ayan. O, diba? Tapos, ayan yung ano nila o. Napakaganda. At ang pinakamalupit dito, yung 50 pesos mo, pwede mong i-cash in sa kanila. Yung 100 mo, pero maaari kang manalo ng 200 pesos. Maaari kang makakuha ng 200 pesos. Total of 300 pesos na ilalaro mo. Ayan o. May pragmatic play din sila. Pwede mong laruin. Tapos, Fortune Games. Testing natin yung Fortune Gems. Fortune Gems to tayo. Testing lang natin. Okay? Fortune Gems to ha. 1 and 2. Ito, dito tayo sa 2. Testing natin, okay? Bet tayo. Huwag na tayo scatter ng mano-mano na tayo. Ayan, 50 pesos. 50 pesos yan ha. Auto spin lang natin. Ayan na. Auto spin lang natin. Fortune Gems yan ha. Fortune Gems to. Ng 7 game. Okay, testing. Wala pa rin. Wala pa rin. Ayan na. Times 2. Pagang. Okay, paldog. Mang. Nakita mo na. Pagang, man. Paano ba ito patigilin? Pang! Sabi tayo, paldog. Puta, scam yan. Par, nananalo eh. Kapag nanalo, scam yan. Oh. Okay. Testing naman natin. Pagbigyan pa ulit. Okay. Last 3 spin. Pag 1 tumama, okay na. Okay, 1. Okay, 2. Okay, tumama na naman. Times 3. 80 mo. Tamang 240. Okay, last ones. Okay na. Yan, sa lahat ng gusto maglaro nito guys. Sa lahat ng ano nito. Yung link na sa may comment section lang. Maglaro ka na, hindi to sa pilitan. Para lang to sa mga mahihilig maglaro ng mga casino, par. Panalo naman, narinig mo. Chijing.
Three, two, one, start.
那夜的雨也没能留住你。
山谷的风，
它陪着我哭泣。
Microphone? You don't need it anymore. Sound card? Not needed either. All those messy cables? No need for them at all. This is an all-new upgraded headset, integrated with a sound card, built-in microphone, built-in earphones. One cable connects everything for singing and live streaming. No need to plug in extra devices. It even comes with beauty effects for your voice.
变男生，
变女生，
变娃娃音，掌声，飞问。
This new neckband Bluetooth headphone features an upgraded Bluetooth 5.49 chip. It offers fun voice changing, sound-enhancing effects found in premium models, and convenient Bluetooth functions. Great for live singing, gaming, and watching shows with immersive audio.
3, 2, 1, go.
从没想过这样的结局，爱到最后还是分离。
No need for a sound card. No need for a microphone stand. No more tangled wired headphones. All those messy cables are unnecessary. This device has a built-in sound card, microphone, and real-time monitoring. You can sing live without plugging in any extra cables. Plus, enjoy voice-enhancing effects.
If you're a new streamer and don't know which device to use, I recommend this neckband sound card headset. Unlike old sound cards with messy cables, just plug in the receiver and you can start live singing.
任我心繁华，祝福为谁而倾诉，断续梦破，叹心里无助。
Everything's built in. Sound card, headphones, and microphone. No cables needed for live singing. Try it and hear the effect.
落叶它静静地铺满了这条街，蓦然回首才发现，人已到中年。
No need for a sound card, microphone, or headphones. No messy cables at all. This device has built-in sound card, microphone, and real-time monitoring. You can live stream and sing without any extra wires, plus enjoy voice enhancement. If you're interested, tap my profile to check it out.
I don't need a sound card or a microphone anymore. This device is enough. It has a built-in sound card, microphone, real-time monitoring, and noise reduction. With one touch, it blocks wind, rain, and car horn noises, perfect for live singing. It also enhances your voice and can help boost your live audience.
We are the factory source, selling directly with no middleman markup. We guarantee the quality you see in the video is what you'll receive. If you're not satisfied, you can return it. Don't hesitate, click my profile to place your order.
Silent. The Filipinos held their fire. The lead elements of the 33rd Infantry started up the narrow trail, a slow, agonizing climb. When they reached the first bend, the mountain exploded. A devastating volley of rifle fire tore through the American ranks. The lead soldiers fell, and the advance ground to a halt. The Americans were trapped in a kill zone. They tried to press forward, but every attempt was met with the same withering fire from the hidden defenders. For hours, the battle raged. Major March sent wave after wave of his men up the trail, but they couldn't break through. The Filipino sharpshooters were too well entrenched. An American correspondent on the scene later wrote of hearing Del Pilar's voice echoing across the pass as he moved from trench to trench, urging his men to greater effort, scolding them, praising them, cursing them, appealing one moment to their love of their native land, and the next instant threatening to kill them himself if they did not stand firm. His leadership was electric, American casualties started to mount. Frustration grew. They were a superior force, yet they were being held at bay by a tiny, invisible enemy. The hours ticked by, 2 hours, 3, then 4. With every passing moment, President Aguinaldo was getting further away. Del Pilar's suicidal mission was working. As the morning wore on, Major March realized a frontal assault was useless. It was a meat grinder. He needed another way. He needed a secret, and he found one. History's greatest turning points often hinge on a single person. At Thermopylae, it was Ephialtes showing the Persians a secret path. At Tirad Pass, it was a local Igorot man named Januario Galut. Why he did it is still debated. Some call him a traitor, motivated by greed or resentment. Others suggest he was forced by the Americans, or that his people chose to side with the new power. Whatever the reason, Galut approached the American commanders and told them about a hidden trail that led to the summit, a path that would let them flank the Filipinos and attack from behind. March seized the opportunity. He sent a company of soldiers led by Galut on the treacherous flanking maneuver. While they clawed their way up the secret trail, the Americans on the main path kept up the pressure, pinning Del Pilar's men in their trenches. By midday,
grabe itong bagong app ng KI888. Kahapon lang ako nag-register, tapos ngayon 3 times na ako nag-super win. Promise, legit talaga.
Ma, pumasok na agad yung reward sa account ko. Nasa bus ako ngayon, bibili na ako ng bagong phone para sa'yo.
Wow, ang swerte naman. Kuya, ano yung KI888? Parang ang saya.
Mobile game yan. Download mo lang, may bonus agad. Mag-register ka, may bonus ulit.
Oh my God, akala ko fake yung mga ganito. Totoo pala?
It's true. Mag-invite ka pa ng friends, mas marami pang rewards. Ngayon, pinaka-trending app talaga sa Pinas.
KI888.
When people around me are astonished at how fast I read.
Here's to my favorite study buddy, the Sisi app. Sisi guides you through the most effective study techniques. And say goodbye to math struggles as Sisi helps you to conquer those equations. If you haven't tried it, download Sisi now.
By midday, more than 5 hours after the battle began, there was a lull in the fighting. The exhausted American soldiers took cover from the scorching sun and the deadly Filipino rifles. They had taken losses, but hadn't gained a single inch. For a moment, it seemed the tiny band of defenders might just hold out until nightfall. But then, the trap was sprung. High above, the American flanking party emerged onto the summit, directly behind the highest Filipino trench. The defenders, their attention fixed on the enemy below, were caught completely by surprise. A volley of American fire rained down on them from the rear. Chaos erupted. The hunters had become the hunted. The 60 men were now trapped in a deadly crossfire. The strategic advantage had vanished in an instant. The battle for the pass was now a desperate fight for survival. The end came swiftly. The trenches were overrun. The Filipino defense collapsed. Amidst the carnage, General Del Pilar remained defiant. Accounts of his final moments vary, but the most enduring image comes from the correspondent Richard Henry Little. He wrote that after the last trench had fallen, Del Pilar, seeing all was lost, mounted his magnificent white horse, either to rally his last few men or to make one final desperate charge. It was a courageous but fatal decision. A white horse and a uniformed general were an easy target. An American sharpshooter took aim. A single crack from a Krag rifle echoed across the pass. General Gregorio del Pilar was struck in the neck. He fell from his horse, killed instantly. The boy general was dead. He was only 24 years old. When General Del Pilar fell, the Battle of Tirad Pass was over. With their leader gone, the last bit of resistance crumbled. Of the 60 Filipino patriots who stood their ground that morning, 52 lay dead across the mountain pass. Only 8 wounded men managed to escape and bring the tragic news to Aguinaldo. The Americans had the pass, but their real target was gone. The immediate aftermath was grim. Some American soldiers stripped the fallen general's body, taking his uniform, sword, pistol, and other personal belongings as war trophies. For several days, the body of the hero of Tirad Pass lay exposed on the mountainside where he fell. Eventually, an American officer, Lieutenant Dennis Quinlan, disgusted by the disrespect shown to a brave enemy, returned to the pass. He gave Del Pilar a proper burial and put up a simple marker over the grave. The inscription he carved was a testament to the respect Del Pilar had earned. General Gregorio Del Pilar died December 2nd, 1899, commanding Aguinaldo's rearguard, an officer and a gentleman. The sacrifice of Del Pilar and his men had been successful. The 5 hours they held the pass gave Aguinaldo the head start he desperately needed. He and his government vanished into the rugged Cordillera Mountains. Major March and his men continued the pursuit, but the trail went cold. Aguinaldo remained at large for another 16 months. He reached Palanan, Isabela, late in 1900, and from there he continued to direct the guerrilla war. The war the Americans hoped to end quickly now dragged on, becoming a brutal and costly conflict that would last until 1902 and even longer in some regions. Del Pilar's stand at Tirad Pass was the critical moment that allowed this new phase of the war to begin. He lost the battle, but he accomplished his mission. The legacy of the battle and General Del Pilar grew almost immediately. He became a national symbol of heroism and selfless sacrifice. His story was dubbed the Philippine Thermopylae, a foundational myth for the young nation where a handful of heroes laid down their lives for freedom. This comparison, of course, has been romanticized. The numbers 3,000 against 30,000 are pure myth. But the reality, 60 against more than 300, is in many ways an even more powerful testament to their bravery. Del Pilar himself remains a fascinating figure. He was a product of his time, young, ambitious, a fierce patriot. His final diary entry shows a man who knew he was going to die, but embraced it as the most glorious moment of his life, a final service to his beloved country. Today, Gregorio Del Pilar is revered as one of the great heroes of the Philippines. His story has been told in films, books, and national commemorations. The battle site itself, in a town now named Gregorio del Pilar in his honor, is a place of pilgrimage. The story of Tirad Pass is more than just a military battle. It's a powerful narrative about courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. It reminds us that sometimes the most significant victories aren't measured in territory gained, but in hours bought, ideals defended, and the story of bravery left behind. It's the story of 60 men who, on a remote mountain pass, held the line against an army and, in dying, found immortality. The story of Gregorio del Pilar is one of many incredible tales from the Philippine-American War, a conflict often overlooked in world history. If you found this story compelling, let us know in the comments. And for more deep dives into the forgotten battles and legendary last stands of history, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us tell these important stories.